it's Clint here with Send the Fire. Here's a question that you or someone you know may be wrestling through. How can I see God as Father if my earthly father has failed me? You know what? That's a really great question, because the truth is, in our society today, many dads have abandoned mom and kids through separation and divorce. And also, really bad is abuse, sexual, emotional, and physical abuse has taken place at the hands of fathers. So it's a really, really great question. And if that's you or someone you know, I just want to throw out about 5 things for you to give some consideration to. Okay, the first thing is this. The Bible is a big story about God, who He is, His character and His behavior, and it's about humanity and who His people are. Now the thing to remember is this. It was written to a particular people at a particular time, in a particular place, with a particular language. It's really important to remember that stuff when you're thinking about the Bible and trying to understand it. Okay, and the second thing to consider is this. It was written in the language it was because it was helpful in that language. Because think about this, you're trying to describe an eternally existing spiritual being to humans. That's a little challenging. So the language is just there to be helpful for them to understand it. Because the truth is, God is not male or female, not father or mother. Okay, that's the truth. God is a spiritual being. So the language is just there to be helpful for us to be able to wrap our minds around God. Okay, and the third thing to consider that might be helpful for you is consider that when the biblical language is using father, perhaps it's talking about the ideal father and not your personal experience. So the ideal father figure would be loving and caring, supportive and protective and all those things. In Luke 11, it talks about father, and it says, Jesus is talking about when you're talking to the Father in prayer, and he says, hey, you as a father, which of you, if your kid asks for an egg, would give him a scorpion? It's like, hello, who's going to actually do that? Hopefully no dad would actually do that. If anybody has a dad that's actually done that, will you please send me an email, because I would like to hear that. Anyhow, he says, how much more would you, if you're loving for your children, is God the Father going to love you? So he says, hey, you know how to love your kids. How much more so would God love? So it's about the ideal father picture, I believe, than your own personal actual experience. Does that make sense? And the fourth thing to consider is this. In relationships where you're expecting to experience love, when you get burned, it's hard. You close yourself off to protect yourself. But I'd say open yourself up, be vulnerable, trust God. If God is love, if God is perfect, and God loves unconditionally and He forgives, that's a pretty low-risk choice for you to make. So trust, be vulnerable, and see what happens. And the last thing I think I would suggest to consider is this. Work through the father challenges that you have. And that would include, I'd say, connecting with an older, mature Christian who can walk with you on your spiritual journey so that you develop and form an accurate picture and understanding of who God is, as well as walking through the healing process from the dad stuff and being able to forgive. It might also include talking to a professional counselor to be able to walk through all the psychological and emotional stuff as well. So it's a great question. Those are some things I'd say to consider. It's a tough one. I just pray if it's you or someone you know that you can trust God and grow in that relationship with Him. If you want to chat with me more about it, you can find me on sendthefire.ca. I'd love to chat with you.